that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge. It's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go. We're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys here at another live Q&A Ask the Expert series, proudly presented by Expert Professional Wood Care Products. Guys, if you are into fencing at all, even if you don't offer stain yet, you ought to check these guys out. And if you offer stain, you probably already know all about them. But if you don't, be sure to check them out. It's the stain that doesn't stink. We really like it a lot. Guys, if you read the intro... Wait, we're skipping ahead. I'm supposed to also welcome those of you that are listening to the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, you're listening to a recorded version of a live conversation I host most every Saturday from 10 to 11-ish Central. I say 11-ish because sometimes the conversations just get going and we don't want to stop, so sometimes it's a little bit longer. But it most always starts right around 10 a.m. Central. If you'd like to watch it live and participate in the discussion, in the interaction, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just search Joe Everest, and you'll likely find the channel. You'll likely find the live video if you're looking at between 10 and 11 Central on a Saturday. while you're listening, if you enjoy this content, if you think we're giving good value, we'd really love a review. It always helps, and it helps share it out to more of the Fence fam. All right. With all that being said, I'd like to warmly welcome the one, the only, Dan Wheeler. Dan, how are you, sir?
Dude, I am doing good. I'm glad to be here.
Guys, if you're in the fencing industry at all, you know exactly who I'm talking to. Dan founded the first fence podcast. It used to be, your intro used to be the first and only podcast for the fencing industry. But now a few more of us have jumped in the pond. But we'll always and forever will be the first podcast for the fencing industry.
You know, I got a lot of feedback, we'll call it, for that. And here recently, I'm getting a lot of feedback for calling Iowa the greatest state in the country. I'm getting messages and stuff periodically, you know, like, I know you're my neighbor to the south, Joe. And
it depends what we're measuring here. It depends how we're measuring greatness, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling you, I have one uncle that moved to Missouri, and I'm glad he did. You know, no offense, Joe. No offense.
No, doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, but when we see those Missouri license plates come up, man, we're like, oh goodness.
They're hunting for deer.
Dude, it's like Florida people, Missouri people. They're like fighting.
Hey, whoa! do not lump us in with the Florida folks. I mean, not saying anything about Florida folks, I guess. I mean, there's some good ones down there, Josh Glover, etc. But in general, Florida people are just a breed of their own.
That's
right. You
You
don't hear any jokes about like Missouri man does this. No, it's always Florida man wrestles gator or something like that.
Well, you've never been to Iowa then, Joe, because we say Missouri man.
Dang it. Dadgummit. Come on, Missouri. Oh, Dan, before we jump into it, let's say hello to a few people. Chris Caruso. Christopher, hello. How are you? Muck Tape Extreme Tape Measures. Good morning, Joe. Philly is in the house. Love it. Thank you for joining. Kurt Cook says, good morning from New Mexico. Good morning, Kurt. Thanks, Joe, for your video series. Really enjoy you and your guest. Kurt, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. George, oh, man. What do you think here, Dan, on the last name? Zajac. Yeah. Good morning from Minnesota. George, good morning. I hope I didn't just completely butcher your name. This is a name we all know. Sean King. What's up, Mr. King? What's up? Now, where in the wild world of fence are you today, Sean? This is going to go from like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego to where is Sean in the big blue bus?
I think he's home, but he ran like a 38-hour trip straight.
Yeah, I saw the social post on that, and the one where he's just like laid in the yard. Like I can relate.
Yeah, that's wild.
Oh, let's see, Jonathan, what is up? Good morning, Joe and Dan from a finally sunny Northeast Ohio. There you go. It sounded like the good weather's going to be on us here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Today we're supposed to be 82 and sunny, which I'll take that. It's been 50s and rainy for the last several days. Robert Looker, what's up, Robert? Hey, how goes it, my dude and dudettes? What's up, Robert? Appreciate you joining us. Yeah, all right. So Sean is surprisingly home. I'm glad you knew how to get home. That's the thing. It seems like Sean is on the road quite a bit, living the good life, or at least spreading the good message as far as fence building, how to do it correctly. All right, we got one last one to talk about. Carolyn, how are you? Carolyn. Hello from Northeast Indiana. 65 and sunny here today. I love it. Thank you for tuning in. Well, Dan, we got some news. Yeah. We got some news. And it's something we've been working on for a little bit. Do we want to talk about it, or do we want to let people guess maybe? What was the title? All right. So get your guesses in below, and maybe let's give you a little hint. It is an industry event that both of us are going to be at in early fall. Is that month early fall? I think it is.
Yeah, we consider it early fall.
Late summer, early fall, depending on where you are in the country. All right, let's drop some hints or drop some comments with some guesses, and the winner will get a virtual high five from each one of us. I didn't talk to you about that before. I hope I didn't commit you to too much.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I
While we
usually
wait.
say a hearty handshake and a slap on the back, what we say up here in Iowa, but
Oh, there you go. Okay.
we'll call it, yeah,
Well,
virtually.
we could do a hearty handshake and slap on the back at the place that we're going to announce.
I like it.
Find us both there, and you'll earn it. And if you ask us nicely, we'll probably do it even if you didn't get it right. While we wait for the guesses to come in, Dan, how are things up in your neck of the woods?
Good, Joe. Weather's been good. A little bit of rain here and there, but we've been embracing some no-dig stuff and crushing it with that.
Okay.
First full year with the salesman from the start, so things are great with that.
Okay.
CRMs are in place. Just things are clicking, Joe. I like it. I'm happy where we're at. I'll never be satisfied, but where we're at right now, because it's never ending. It's like that carrot that you're always chasing, like this clever fox out on my pen.
There you
go. But man, we're doing good. I'm happy. I'm happy where we're at.
How are the leads turning on up there? Or
the big jobs, the big ticket, and some of the biggest tickets. And again, back to Benji, our Google listings and what he's done with the website, man, it's led us to some really high dollar big jobs.
Nice.
Now, I would say, because I've really been dwelling on this last week, your backyard wood or vinyl jobs, those 30 section type jobs aren't as heavy this year, but still a good amount coming through, but still tons of work. Commercial industrial has picked up, where in the last 3 years, I don't want to say it's been non-existent, but it's been darn close. Now, man, it's just popping, and that's my favorite type of work. So, overall, very well. I'm very happy. So
good. Yeah. So we just had a meeting Friday, kind of with everybody, see where we're at, and for us, much the same. For us, commercial is just kind of plugging along, which we were curious to see because obviously it's an election year, so. Sometimes you see that affect commercial to where they'll want to hold on to their funds and wait to see which way the wind blows. But that hasn't happened. Fourth quarter, first quarter for us was slow on residential, or slower than normal. We were still 4 weeks out, but when compared with pandemic, when we were 8 to 10 weeks out pretty consistently, 4 weeks feels like you're not caught up, or you need more work. Residential's been coming more online. It seems like we've been getting a lot of requests, but what we've been seeing is there's a gap in those 30 section projects. Those really nice sized projects. They're all sub 100 foot. Like they're like, I just want to do this line this year. Maybe I'll do the rest of it. So now I said that. So we had one big one come in. I say one big one. So it's a property management company that had 10 houses. And they just built them, and they're fencing them all in. So I think that would technically like the residential yards, but I view that as the funds are commercial, right? So, but man, if we could get residential back online, there's a lot to that, I think, but we'll see.
I will say this year we have financed more residential than we have ever financed at River City Fence, ever. So that's we've been pushing that because it's sticker price shock, right? Like you're like, holy Moses, and just like you said, man, we were flooded with I just need a dog run 30, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like where are these 250 footers, 300 footers, where they're real profitable for us. We can get in and get out, and but they're coming. I thought it would be when you just. When that, in the Midwest, you're in the Midwest, so you get like the first 35-degree day. It's just like the phone is just 35 calls a day. I didn't see that, but we were seeing it all winter though, because we had such a mild winter. It was 70-some degrees a month and a half ago, so for a week. So we were just plugging away. So it feels good. We're in a good spot, not overwhelmed like we typically are. So things aren't falling through the cracks, and implementing a full-time salesman, it's a little nicer to do that.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, let's talk about financing for just a second. Do you want to talk about who you use for financing?
Yep. So I use a local credit union.
Okay.
And it's nice because I can text you a link or email it. And it's like 5 or 6 qualifying questions.
Okay.
And then once you're qualified, then you can go kind of in that. And that's like almost instantly. If you do it before, noon or 1 o'clock, they'll have it to you, the answer that same day. Then you
Wow.
can kind of get more involved with it and then get approved. And that check comes right to us. It doesn't go to the customer.
Nice.
So, so we just use a local credit union, and they kind of were changing some stuff up. So then I reached out and they're kind of in the market next to me, but everyone knows them. So I reached out to a local credit union. It has 2 or 3 branches in our city, and they're like, we don't do that, but I told them what I want, and they're looking into it. They're really interested into it. So I like that, because then I can say, Joe, the credit union, Ozark Credit Union right down the street, everyone uses them, right? So that would be nice.
Absolutely. Well, and it keeps your money more local too.
Right.
That would be a huge plus. Now, on the financing, I'm asking this because we're going through this right now of like how to structure it. We use one that integrates directly with the CRM, but I mean, don't love it, don't hate it. It just is what it is. Are you offering financing? So are your sales guys offering financing on every, like a proposal goes out, they say, hey, here, how are they presenting the financing?
So we have it tagged everywhere. I think on all our Facebook posts, it's tagged there. In every email, it's tagged in there. And then Alan gently offers it. That's one thing I haven't mastered, because we haven't done it a lot. Because you don't want to like offend someone.
Yes.
So like, but me, if I could get a really low rate on it and save some cash, because you never know, why wouldn't you? And I feel like that's how people are right now. But we're just gently, I'm like, hey, and by the way, Joe, we offer financing. If you want it, the link is going to be in the email that we send over with your bid. If you don't, no pressures, but
nice.
It's there just in case you want.
Yeah, I think it's important to offer it on all of them. So we got away from it because we had a few customers almost, I don't know that they were insulted, but it felt something like that, to where like, well, why would I finance it? I can pay for this. Like, well, I didn't say you couldn't. I just said there could be other alternatives out there. And so we stopped offering it, or we stopped talking about it in the initial quote and all that. And then I was out on a project on Monday. Now listen, there's a sub story here too, but I was out on this job Monday and I gave them the proposal, and they said, hey, we noticed on your website you offer financing. Would you mind, like, how does that work? And so I worked up a proposal, the estimated monthly payment, sent it over to them. They pre-qualified, they qualified. Boom. It was 516 foot of 6 foot privacy. It was a unicorn. It was nice. It will be a nice project for us. But that got me thinking, well, we need to find a way of just gently introducing it. And we're playing with, so to your point, in the email, when we send a proposal out, there's a whole email that goes with it, obviously. And one of those lines now is, we also offer financing. If that's a solution, or if that's something that you would be interested in, feel free to reach out. We'd love to walk you through the process. As just like hey, not saying you need it or want it, but if you do, be sure to reach out. We're trying to find just a gentle way of talking about that. Right.
It's not like on a wood fence, you're pushing stain.
Right.
We're not, it's not that. But it's just real gentle. I think Alan does a really good job on it. But yeah, that's how we're going about it. And man, it's taken off for us quite a bit. And it's nice that it comes right to us. It doesn't go to someone else.
Absolutely.
Because, you play that game. I don't want to play that game.
Yep. We worked with a financing partner that did that. And I guess since then they've changed how they do things maybe, but yeah, so we had twice customers take the financing with us and have someone else build their fence. Like, that's not what we're paying the fee for. So that's what led us to change. But I've talked to a representative from that place after that about that, and he said, no, we've changed kind of how this works, and I don't know, we'll see. One thing I saw, who did I see? Someone had shared, this is a while ago, talking about financing. On the bottom of their quotes, if the quote is over $5,000, I think, they put in the note section, this project qualifies for financing. Ask your salesperson for more information. That's kind of a nice touch, I think. But we'll see. All right, guys, get your guesses in the comments below. Where Dan and I going to be together in late summer, early fall, depending on what part of the country, and you'll call this month something different. It's an industry event. Now we've got one guest so far. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Saw it come through. So Kurt said you both host a national building training event. No, that's if neither one of us had a business and neither one of us maybe, but I couldn't imagine hosting something like that.
I can probably barely host a birthday party for a 2-year-old, Joe.
Fair. That's
Dude,
fair.
I get the beer thing right, a couple coolers. I can do that, but that's about it.
Yeah. Put me in charge of hospitality. I will rock hospitality for sure.
Yeah.
But let's say hello to a few people. Clint, hello. Good morning, gents. Good morning, Clint. The one, the only, Caleb Roth. Good morning, Caleb. Appreciate you joining us. Carolyn's saying that she knows that too. Residential is down this year. So, and maybe some of that is election year stuff. I don't know how much election year impacts residential. I mean, you always hear that. People always talk about it, but I don't know. I don't know that we see it.
Yeah, us too. I think in the residential world, it's those families, maybe younger families. In this is just my opinion, like they don't have time for that outside noise. They are just go, and their dollar is being stretched. For what, 2 years now or whatever.
Yeah.
It just keeps, man, it's rough. That's why I think. But that's just me.
In our area, a lot of these residential loans, well, maybe not a lot of them, but a fair amount of them are sold as adjustable rate. So I think people got into houses that they qualified for at the time, but now that interest rate has risen, now their payments have risen. So again, to your point, they're being stretched really thin. I tell you, it kills me a little bit inside every time, though, when I see really nice houses with a pine privacy fence around them, and the boards come from the big box store, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you look down them, one, the whole thing looks like a snake because the rails have already warped. Two, every picket spells a different letter. Yeah. It's like, man, I mean, in our area, a $300,000 or $400,000 house is a very nice house. You could get an entry level 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage for about $200,000. So $400,000 is a nice home with these pine fences around them. Like, oh, that is such a tough look.
Yep.
But I think those are folks that maybe stretched to get into that, and now the APR has risen, so now their payment has increased. To your point earlier, their funds are being stretched pretty thin.
Right.
Still hurts me inside. Now, I feel a little bit of relief because I know here in about 10 years, those fences are going to be ready to be replaced. So like that's business for later, maybe. We'll see. Yep. We'll see. Ken Throckmorton, what's up, Ken? Good morning. So this is interesting. Steven had mentioned we're seeing more serious customers and less tire kickers. Interesting. So maybe the tire kickers are, at least in Steven's market, are just assuming that they're stretched too thin. And so the people that are inquiring have the funds ready to go.
Right.
That would be a dream.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, Steven, in our market, we still have a fair amount of tire kickers. Now, we try to weed them out with my salesmen just so that they see the price. They go, ooh, I really thought, if it was $6,000, I really thought it was going to be $2,000 or $3,000. Oof. I don't even know if it was $2,000 or $3,000 before the pandemic. Right. But, another problem is they'll get online and search, like, what does a wood fence cost?
Right,
and Angie or one of these other sites like, oh, well, the industry average is about $14 a foot. I don't know where they get their information, but
that's like the Home Depots, with the panels up front, and they see it for $49.99. Well, I only need 20 of them. How in the world? Well, it don't work like that. It is what it is.
Or these videos, or you see these videos like how to build a fence yourself and save a ton of money, and it's like a pallet fence. Like, well, I don't know if that qualifies, but. What is up, Chris? How are you? Good morning, Joe and Dan. Good morning, Chris. Good to see you in the chat. Threw in the hashtag Fence Fam. I love that. Jordan Hunt. Good morning, Jordan. Good morning, guys. Chris has a point. By the way, Jim owes the fencing community that strawberry shortcake recipe. You know, what's funny is, so we talked about last week that was absolutely an April Fool's, and I 100% understand that I should have said that in the video, like left a little bit of black space at the very end, been like, all right, just kidding. We got like, what was it? It was like 7, 8, 9 unsubscribes in the first minute. I was like, oh, I might have oversold that one. That might have been. But this is the one thing everyone picked up on in the comments was we're voting for Jim because we want this strawberry shortcake recipe.
Yeah.
Guys, I hate to break this to you, and maybe my dad should be the one to say this. He doesn't have a strawberry shortcake recipe. Like that, it just doesn't. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna have him on the show one day to like break the news to you guys. Like, listen, he promised it. What is up? Good morning, gents. Good morning. Carolyn says, every residential caller says they want wood and vinyl quoted. They want vinyl, but think they can only afford wood. I wonder if offering financing would change that. I mean, very likely, I would think. We see that when we're talking about kind of this scenario, wood or vinyl, or we'll have people that maybe they want like a color-coded chain link or an ornamental. Those two things for us seem to be pretty close. I think financing is a great time to talk about that. Like, I would love to give both of the quotes for both of these to you. I can also give you an estimated monthly payment on what it would be for an ornamental if you'd like to get into that. The key thing with financing is offering a plan that doesn't have a prepayment penalty, because then we say, hey, I mean, the plans we have, they'll stretch over 120 months. They'll stretch over 10 years. So the payments are incredibly low. Now, you don't want to pay interest on this thing for 10 years, but you can pay it off in 3 years or 4 years. Pay it, put your tax returns towards it, knock this thing out, and have a low monthly payment in between. But to your point, Carolyn, I absolutely think you're right. Offering financing is a great way to upgrade that fence, get the customer into a fence they really, really want, but don't stress their finances.
Right.
For sure. Front Rock Fences says, good morning, boys. Building some chain link and pounding post with the U.S. hammer. I love to hear that. Video coming soon. All right. Dan's got a call on the hotline.
I know. If I knew how to silence it, I would. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow. But Front Rock Fences got some more videos coming in. I love it. I love that so much. If you guys watch the channel, you saw a video we did recently with, we did a review or reaction of Front Rock Fence building fence in like some sort of crazy negative temperature. It was snowing and
he has like no hat on. It's like that's only like the super northern guys, they're walking out, no hat, no coat, and
they're like, just built different.
They're like, I would die. I'm like, yeah, you would. But if you're moving, you try to tell them, well, if you're moving and you're picking up stuff, you kind of feel good. They're like, no, you don't. Like, well, it's one of those things. You just got to live it.
But here's the funny thing, though. You take guys like us from the Midwest and push us into the South, or in either coast or whatever. So I was at a social media conference in San Diego, and it was like 62 degrees one evening. I was shorts, and this was like in January. Shorts, T-shirt. I'm like, this is great. You could tell who was from there because they had hoodies on. They had the heat lamps going at the restaurants. What is this nonsense? So I have a feeling it's probably the same way when the northern folks come down. They're like, guys, it's only 30. Like, this is fantastic. What are you guys?
That's working weather, man. I'm most productive. When we went to New Orleans and I got off that plane, Joe, not off the plane, but when I got out of the airport, I'm like, I was like, oh dear God. And on that Uber ride to the hotel, I had like my head out the window on the interstate. I'm just trying to suck air, man. And I'm like, it is so humid down here, but
it's thick.
It's so different. But if they come up here, and it's negative 20, like, you can be outside for a little bit, but
just different.
It's different, yeah.
Oh. Corey Bigelow, GSD.
That's the Mark Olson. Get stuff done.
Oh, get stuff done. Okay. But he is hosting a training though. Okay. So not this. Jordan's got a guess. FWA Vegas. Good guess. Similar time frame. Not FWA Vegas. Alex Harris. What's up, fellas? Alex, what's good, man?
What's up, Alex?
Michael Reed is in the house. Good morning. Good morning, Michael.
Mr. Michael Reed.
We should call him Sir Michael.
Yeah.
Sir Michael. Because it's like that's how he conducts himself. It's just like
Oh yeah.
very professional, very regal. I don't know. Sir Michael. It's got a ring to it. Blake Bam, what is up, Blake? Good morning. Talking about neighbors to the south. Blake is my neighbor to the south. Down in Arkansas. George says Vegas in September. Close. We're getting warmer.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Throckmorton, I say both of you will be in the state of Nevada together. Not wrong. So we're narrowing this down. Michael Reed said homeowners should always call a professional fence contractor. I absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael, I think one thing that's getting harder to differentiate is what makes a professional fence contractor, right? Like I think that's becoming harder for the homeowners to distinguish. And we probably should define what a professional fence contractor is, right? So, I mean, because we sell retail and wholesale here out of the lot, so we got a lot of guys come through, and a lot of guys dog on landscapers that also build fence, right? Guys, we've got some guys coming through here that do landscape, hardscape that have also added fence. I've seen their work. Great stuff. I would call them a professional fence contractor just by the quality of their work. Now, they don't have a brick and mortar store. So some people would use that as a gauge, as a professional, like, do they have a retail location or do they at least have an office that you can go to? Is all this being, Michael, I agree. Homeowners should prefer a professional fence contractor, but I think the hard part for them is differentiating between professional fence contractor or not, because the price of vinyl wraps has come down quite a bit, and especially vinyl lettering. You can go buy a truck and put a beautiful wrap on it and all of a sudden look like a professional fence contractor, but you may have just started, right? Or you may have worked for a year for a fencing contractor and now you're a fencing contractor. You pull up and the homeowner doesn't know any different, right? You can talk, you can walk them through the yard and this and that, and they could still have a very bad experience because, they don't have anything in their office sort of, or they don't have any processes figured out, right? Mm-hmm. So as far as communication, project management, there's probably not a CRM. It would be a very different experience, if that makes sense. But I agree. Professionalism is important. We need to find a way of differentiating for the homeowner who is and is not.
Yeah.
But as I say that, Dan, part of me says, well, we were all at one point not professional fence contractors. Through education, through training, through trial and error.
Yep.
We became professional fence contractors.
Yeah.
So this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with is, everyone starts somewhere. I want to take that into account and consideration, right? Because we've got a lot of guys that are just started out, but are hungry to learn, are hungry for knowledge. They want to hold themselves to a professional standard. Those guys I would call professional fence contractors, as long as their work shows and this and that. But if they're striving towards that, so it's hard to define, I guess, is what I'm saying.
And every market's different. In my direct market here, we have like one landscaper, and he only kind of came about, does great work 2 years ago, probably during COVID, and he's booked out like 3 years. And that's not an exaggeration. So it's like, so I don't have landscapers. You do. Some do great work. Then you hear other markets where they have landscapers and they still work and it looks horrible. It's just not a cut and dry conversation. And it's so hard. And that's with everything. The way you build fence, the way I build fence, the way he builds fence, what's acceptable, what's not. Because you see some stuff, I'm like, you got paid for that? Where in mine, I'd be kicked off a job. It's just so there's so much gray there. It's hard to really define.
Well, and there's not really, I'm going to say this. There's not really a set standard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now there are standards, there's like ASTM standards, and so there are, but for residential fencing, which you can apply ASTM, okay, but there's not like an industry acknowledged, like a 6 foot privacy fence. To your point, every region builds them differently. And we probably can't have one overarching set of standards because the ground conditions are different and everything's different. But you're right in that, yeah, sometimes we'll go like on vacation or we'll go somewhere and I look at these fences, I'm like, oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. And but then you see a sign on it, a very professional looking sign. Then this is how nerdy I am, that on vacation I'm like Googling fence company, like, oh, let's see what they look like. Let's see what
Yeah.
they do. And I'm like, oh, this is like, I mean, they've got a ton of reviews. They're very good reviews. They've got a really nice website. So it's like, okay, so this is this region's standard. Like this is just how they built fence. But and I'm sure, guys, I absolutely understand. I'm sure people come here and see our fences and go, oh God, like they build stuff like that here. I can't believe they get paid for it. But so I guess part of it is understanding that there are different standards for different regions, but
Mm-hmm.
we got to agree that like a 12-inch reveal is not a standard on a wood
Right.
fence anywhere.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
just I did a reaction video. Now you guys will see it in a little bit. We recorded a bunch yesterday, and one of them was a 6 foot fence with 2 rails, so it had like 12-inch reveal above, 12-inch reveal below. It's like, oh, that's a tough look, and it didn't look great as a new fence. So
Right.
you can imagine after a month what this thing's going to look like.
The
But
other thing when you were talking about standards, Joe, like I tell people, like, because I get a lot, like you're way higher, and I say
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm like, and we build fence a certain way, because there is no set in stone. It's not a house. Start with a footer, then
right,
the foundation, then this inspections are along. It's not like that. This
Yep.
isn't holding up nothing. It's not holding up a house. It's keeping a little ones. Anything. Chicken wire can do that with a couple stakes.
Yep.
But then we go into depth, like why do we drive posts like this? Why do we set the posts in concrete? Why are my vinyl gates different than everybody else's? Why are my wood gates now are aluminum framed different from everybody else's? You use steel, I use aluminum.
Yeah.
What we use steel posts, also Postmasters for wood
Yep.
fence. Why do we stain fence? Why do I use this stain? Why? It just educate, and it's to a certain point, you're either out of someone's budget or they don't care.
Sure.
And then you have to be okay with walking away from that. Because I see a lot, you see on Facebook a lot where guys are like, I bid this job, look at it now. He went to cheaper bid. Yeah, he did. Move on. Move on, man.
Yeah.
Like then maybe you need to reflect a little. How should I get my customer? Like I want to work in this market for these people, this income. How do I find that? That's what I focus on. I could care less about what someone's snaking work from underneath. I could get for cheaper. I don't care.
Well, because that client wasn't a good fit to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if that was a quality that they had accepted, they're not. So the way I view that is I need to get better at marketing and education to help people understand that's not a good fit. We're not a good fit for them. They're not a good fit for us, vice versa. Excuse me. So, maybe we need to get better at marketing and create a better marketing message around the fact that we build fence to a certain standard.
Right. Yeah, that's how we are. I really think our pictures on Facebook and stuff prove that. So like they go on my website, everything on there is ours. And then we just, with word of mouth, we've been around a long time, and that helps. Some guys are new, so word of mouth helps with that too. So, it's just it's always evolving. It's not just like I said, it's a lot of gray area. It's not cut and dry. It's just one of those things. It is.
Well, and that's it. And some people will go, I said, this person went on Angie or wherever on Google and said, hey, what does a fence cost? I mean, they're trying to do homework, right? They're trying to be an informed consumer. We talked before about, we talked on a different day about the fact that consumers want to buy, they don't want to be sold, and there's a difference there, right? The consumer wants to have all the information and then choose what's right for them.
Mm.
That's how I purchase it. I mean, I understand that because that's how I like to purchase as well. I don't want to walk in and have a salesman come up to me and tell me why I should buy this thing. give me the information about 2 or 3 of these things. Let me decide what would be best for me. So customers are trying to do their own homework, but maybe we are just not doing a good job. I say we as like Ozark Fence, my company, maybe we're not doing a good job properly explaining what the differences in quality are, right? And this is a video I think we need to do is a cedar fence is not a cedar fence can be made of several different types of cedar, right? So if you and I say, hey, we're going to build you a cedar fence, and maybe there's a third guy, well, you could get 3 different types of cedar. You could have the import japonica. You could have a Western red. We do a lot of Eastern red just because it's available. You can have there's all different types of cedar available in the fencing marketplace, and they're all different qualities. So that's what we're getting into now as well. So-and-so gave me a bid for a cedar fence, and it's $1,000 less than yours. Completely understandable. Here's some pictures of our recent work. We use Eastern red cedar. This is what it looks like. This is how you can expect for it to age. I'd be interested to hear what type of cedar they're using. There's 4 or 5 different types in our market alone, each with different qualities and characteristics and price points. This is the one we prefer to use. I don't know. So I don't know where we were going with that, Dan, but I think part of this is we need to be better at educating our markets on, hey, here are the standards available.
That's what Todd Skolsky with Perfection Fence. He's like, you have to sell. He says it so well, and I always try to get him on the podcast, and he won't. He believes in education on the fence first and foremost, and then it's selling your service, your product. He's very big on that. Care less about anybody else. He's like, this is why we're the best, or not so much the best, but this is why we are us. This is why we built this reputation and so forth. But
we usually say something along the lines of, so when someone says, hey, so-and-so gave me a bid and they're X dollars cheaper, and I'll say, I don't know about them. I don't know how they run their business. I know about us, and I know we value the quality correctly, the quality of the fence that we're bringing to you, also the quality of the experience that you're going to have in terms of communication, professionalism. We're going to be here on time. We're going to do what we say we're going to do. I know that we have priced that accordingly. I would assume that they have also priced theirs accordingly. And really, it's just a matter of what quality of service, what quality of products are you really looking to get. Sometimes that works out. And then this is also maybe where that financing conversation comes in too, is we do have a financing option, so we can still get this fence in for you. It's 120 months, but you could certainly pay it off in 6 if you want. You could pay it off next week if you wanted to with no ill effect. But this could help you get into a higher quality fence, a better experience in the fence building process. Would you at least be interested in seeing information on that? And then they see a monthly payment of around $150, $200 and say, oh, yeah, okay, that's something I think is interesting. Let me scroll up. We've got some good guesses here. I really got to scroll up. You guys are guessing a lot. I appreciate that. All right. Lapita says, I was quoted at just under $8,000 for a commercial aluminum fence, areas 28, 44, 28. This is for materials only. Really wanted something open, but I'm needing privacy to block out neighbor. Well, you probably won't get that with an aluminum fence. Let me do some. I'm a fence guy. I'm not a mathematician. So I'm going to add this up real quick and see what we're talking about here. All right. So it's right at 100 foot. That's probably, this is it in my market with our materials, that would seem high for a material quote.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about $80 a foot. You said it was, so that sounds like more of a materials and labor number, maybe, in our market. And here's the thing is commercial aluminum fence. So we're probably talking about 2.5 inch posts. We're trying everyone's
or 3. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I like the fact that you put quotes under commercial because everyone's commercial is different spec. you could get for that. I mean, for that fence, you could or for that area, you could get a really nice pre-stained wood fence. Where it gives you privacy, also gives you a nice look. I mean, if you're really wanting the black look, you could have it pre-stained black for an additional upcharge. Black, you got to recoat it several times to get it looking really nice. But you could also go with, I mean, for that price point, you could get into a vinyl. Depending on the market, you might be able to get into a composite fence. That would probably be stretching the budget for. Well, if we're talking about materials only, maybe. You've got some better options, I think.
Yeah. And one quick thing is I have one that just came through similar to this, a little bigger, but wanted it open. But obviously, neighbors, I always say, like, I don't want to see Joe watching me grill, and I want to watch Joe grill. We just do some privacy on the sides, keep it open, whether it's black vinyl chain link or ornamental steel is what we use up in my market. So that's always an option too. Keep privacy open, keep the price down. It kind of checks all the boxes.
I like it. I like it. Lapita, what market are you in? It'd be interesting to just get a feel for that. The fence guy, what type of interest is your financing? So ours, the folks we use have a bunch of different ones. We typically offer 120 months. I believe it's at 12.99, which, the one who we were with before, they had some that were quite a bit higher. I know there's probably lower out there. And we get that feedback sometimes from customers that don't want to pay it. They want to go get their own loan. Completely fine. You can get lower interest on like a HELOC or something, but understand that this is like an unsecured line of credit, really. So 12.99 seems to be about where we're at. Dan, do you know where you guys are at?
No, and it fluctuates a little because I wanted like some type of chart where I can say fence falls in here. This is the month, and they're like, "No, we don't do that. It's because everyone's going to be different." So I wish I did, but I don't.
That makes sense. It probably varies depending on credit.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because the banks are going to try to, gauge risk. Really, is if you've got higher credit, you're a lower risk. You're more likely to pay this thing on time and overall. Lower credit, there's probably some dings on there that might make the bank nervous. Ours is $12.99 over 120 months. They also have a 60-month product, also at $12.99, and they've got some lower interest. But the way this always goes is the lower the interest to the customer, the higher the fee we pay. So it's like these guys are getting paid one way or the other, and I would rather not pay it. At the $12.99, I think I'd have to look. I think we've got a couple percent fee, transaction fee or something like that. But then if you go lower, the transaction fee goes up. They have a no interest, no payments for like 6 months option, but the dealer fee on that's like 11 or 12%. We're not in that kind of business. But what's interesting though, talking about financing is I've started to see guys, I think I saw Josh Glover do it first. I've seen other guys do it since, offering in-house financing. I believe his is 90 days. 90 days, no interest, no payments. Now, at the 91 days, everything goes back to the day of signing, not the day of installation. So, you can rack up some interest pretty quickly. And every state's different. I'm sure, I know in Missouri, it caps out at 18% annual APR, 1.5% a month. Something interesting. The dangerous part is you float the cash flow on that. Is you're floating that for 90 days. They probably pay sooner. Some will. And at the end of it, if they don't pay, I mean, I guess you've got the interest. And since you're the contractor, you have a lienable interest on the property. So you could just go. So it's more like a secured loan, right? Yeah. You're securing it with your ability to lien the property. I don't know. It'd be a lot of cash flow to put on a 90-day term, though. But here's the thing: that companies that do a lot of business commercially, they're used to that anyway. Commercial, you can say it's 30-day pay. You might as well plan on it being 60 or 90 days. By the time it gets to their, the job superintendent passes it to accounting passes it to the owner approves it. It's 90 days. Just count on it being that.
Yeah, at least.
So, if you do a lot of commercial, if you're used to stretching your money out, just waiting 90 days to get paid, the 90-day no payment, no interest might be a good way to get into some residential projects. Jordan Hunt, we keep the landscapers, hardscapers from fence by partnering with them and making us their easy button for offering fence in their quotes. Jordan, I think that's a great idea.
That's like that co-branding Benji always talks about, like on a door hanger. Ozark fence here, Ozark landscaping here. You need landscaping, you're going to put up a fence also.
Yeah.
And now you're getting a twofer for both of you, cutting that price in half, which is minimal. But, man, that's a good idea.
Well, the reason the landscape, hardscape guys are finding success in fence is because they're already in the yard. And some of these hardscape projects are high-dollar projects, right? So if they're building, especially, I'll tell you the guys I love to get in with are the water feature people. Pond and waterscapes and waterfalls and all that. They make our projects look piddly in dollar amounts, right? Yeah. So, they can go in there and say, we've got this $15,000 water feature. It's a pond. I don't know what the numbers are in that. And also, we could tack on another $6,000 to do some fence around here. How does that sound? They've already got the customer's trust. They've already did all this. So partnering with them, Jordan, makes a ton of sense.
Yes.
I'd be interested to see how that's set up. So I wonder if it's like a refer. I would think it might be like a referral basis. It always makes me nervous. We had a deck builder. They're still in town, but we had a deck builder a while ago reach out that they wanted to. They said they used the word they wanted to partner with us to do their fences because they get a lot of requests. And again, decks can be high ticket items. So they're in the right place. They're talking to homeowners, which is who we want to talk to. The homeowner just spent $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 on a deck. All right, they'd probably be in the market for a fence also. But they wanted to sell the fence. So they wanted us to give them like a per foot rate, and then they would go sell it and then hand us the contract. Or they would mark it up, sell it for whatever, then hand us the contract. We never ended up doing that because, man, it would make me nervous having someone else sell the fence that we're going to be responsible for installing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? You go in the back, you're like, oh yeah, they said that double drive gate will go right up that hill.
Yeah.
Well, they lied to you. One side of that gate can work no problem. The uphill side is going to struggle.
Yeah.
Unless you've got. Have you seen these swan hinges?
I've seen that. Was it Orlando hinge or something?
Yeah, I think
like
so.
That.
Wild. So unless you've got one of those, swinging a gate uphill is just not a viable option. So anyway, I say that to say, Jordan, I'd really be interested to hear about how this partnership works because like I said, we've got a lot of landscapers here that do legitimately good work. Might be interesting to partner up with them on something. Al Martins, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Al. Speaking of someone from the Great White North, Lupita said, this is a follow-up on the $8,000 and quoted $12,000 for vinyl fence and porch railing with labor through a company. I don't like the look of white vinyl fence. And that's, I can understand that. There's definitely that thought. So now vinyl fence has come an incredibly long way in just a few years. So now, there's wood grains that if you stood back 5 foot, you would, you could tell it, if you looked hard enough, the lines are all straight. It's not roughs on or anything. But the wood grain, if you had guests over, guests would never know.
Yeah.
So high winds are a thing. You would definitely want it. The posts can be braced with stiffeners. The rails can be braced with stiffeners. Don't let that scare you, right? In terms of, I don't like the looks. There is wood grain available. High winds, you can add stiffeners to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Danny, you guys do a decent amount of vinyl, is that right?
Quite a bit of vinyl. Yeah.
So we hardly do any vinyl. So are those factual statements? I guess you should ask.
We had that derecho come through in 2020 or 21, whatever it was, 115, 130 mile per hour winds. I had no fences blow apart. And at that time we did not use rail ties. We only crimped, and we put an aggressive crimp on it. Nothing. The only time I had problems with those vinyl fences when a limb or a grill went through a fence. Sure. But no, built right. So this is the other thing is in a high wind area, we 100% upgrade the thickness of the post.
Okay.
And we have 3 grades of thicknesses,
Okay.
Of that, and then we could go another step further, just shorten down your post centers too. So a good
Okay.
fence company, that's cake to them. There's nothing different. They should be able to look at it. This is why we have to do this. Shorten it down. We have to upgrade your post, and this is why. They should be able to walk you right through that, no problem.
Beautiful. Now
Totally.
let's clarify rail ties real quick. So if you're envision the post where the rails come through into the post, so what a rail tie does is bond those two together inside that post. So that way the strain that one section is getting then transfers down the line to all the rest of them. So it helps spread the load.
Mm-hmm.
Much in the same way like a wood fence, like what's behind Dan, a wood fence will do is because all those are connected, it will spread the force through those other panels. Steven says we're seeing the economy pushing out some of the smaller fence companies who haven't been investing in marketing advertising. So Steven, I would actually say so not only smaller companies, right? So larger companies too. I think a lot of people got caught flat-footed when the economy really slowed. And slowed isn't the right word. When it pulled back to normal, right? It was on afterburners. It was all the way forward for a while, and now it's just pulled back to normal, at least in our market. But a lot of people were caught flat-footed. They weren't marketing, which makes sense to a certain extent, right? So if we're already 8 to 10 weeks out, why are we paying money to bring customers in to only have them leave because we're so far out? That is not a great investment on our part. So a lot of companies scaled back their marketing, but they didn't start it back until they started seeing, till they got to a certain production schedule, or however they justify it. They started too late.
Yeah.
I heard it's a podcast with Benji was talking a little while ago, talking about, hey, it takes 4, 5, 6 months for good marketing to really get a hold and really start generating traction, whatever traction means to you. Phone calls, lead ads, whatever. So a lot of companies got slow or started to see themselves get slow, turned on marketing. But again, there's that 4, 5, 6 month lag. Now you'll start seeing stuff trickle in, but it doesn't get into earnest until you've really established some time in this. So I think a lot of companies, small and large, got caught flat-footed. Now the difference is the large companies hopefully had some rainy day funds set aside to where they could just grit, bite down and bear it and get through it until that marketing caught up with them. Unfortunately, the smaller companies don't have that. So those are the ones that really you see get caught in the crosshairs.
We screaming at this all the time, but right now, most guys have some work at spring, and now it's the time to start putting it away or start talking to Benji, Sam, whoever. You got to do something. And you know what they're going to say is we're slow in 6 months or whatever, 8 months. Well, if you would have started 8 months ago with a website or something, at least got the ball rolling, updated your Facebook all the time, Google business, whatever it is, you got to do something. It's just, it's not a light switch. That's my go-to thing.
Well, and if we think about 6 months, guys, it's April.
Yeah.
Right. So 6 months from now, it's going to be October. In our market, Thanksgiving has been historically when things start dropping off. So we're there. We need to start thinking about today what our October is going to look like, what our November, December is going to look like. So we need to start in the next month laying groundwork for marketing for this fall. That's hard to think about, right? Especially in April, May, June, when you are slammed, when you're just trying to make hay while the sun shines. I get it, but this is the time to think about what your winter marketing is going to look like.
That's why you have a team. That's why you can't do it all.
Yep. Bingo. Yep. All right, we got some good guesses in here. Brad says we pre-qualify with My Salesman. Absolutely. I absolutely agree. They help kind of weed out the tire kickers. Al Martin says spot on. Thank you, Al. Oh, here we go. Stevie Boy Billings. Afternoon, Joe and the Fence fam. He says afternoon because he's coming to us all the way from across the pond. What's up, Stevie Boy? All right. Tanner says we take samples of the different types of cedar and show the customer. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Thornton and I had a conversation, gosh, it's been several weeks ago, about how we've gotten away from carrying hand samples to job quotes. And I think this is a result of the pandemic because we weren't, in our market at least, we weren't allowed to go do in-person estimates. So now we're kind of relearning. You can ride a bike. Even if you haven't ridden a bike in 10 years, you can ride a bike, but the first couple laps are going to be a little wobbly, right?
Yeah.
Like you know how to do it, but you're still trying to figure out timing. I think we're there on in-person estimates right now as we remember how to do it, but we're still figuring it out again. And I think Tanner's already figured this out, that hand samples are hugely important.
Yeah, no, we got back to that. We just got Alan a sales vehicle SUV, and man, the back of it is every time he goes out to a different one, you know, it's wood, privacy, or stain. When I whip up a little 2x2 real quick for them because I want them to put their hands on it. I want them to feel it. I want them to set it next to the house, and oh my God, it looks so good. Anything and everything we can do to be one step ahead of the next guy, we're doing it. So, and that's cheap, easy. So.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I'm just sitting here thinking, like, for our Eastern Red cedar, so it's what they would call like an aromatic cedar. It smells fantastic. It's what they used to make like hope chests and cedar closets out of. So we're right after we get done with this, I'm going to our HBA home show this weekend. The number one thing we saw, we had the lawn and garden show a couple weeks ago, well, maybe a month ago now anyway, is people walk up, put their nose to the fence and smell it. And they go, oh, that's aromatic cedar. Well, yeah, I could have told you that without smelling it. But when we're thinking about, so we downsized our booth because there's a whole other conversation here that in-person home shows maybe aren't as, they don't return as much as they used to. So we went from a four booth wide, so a 40-foot wide booth down to a 20-foot wide booth. As we're trying to figure out what to cut out, I was like, guys, we got to leave the wood. Mm-hmm. Aromatic cedar, we got to leave it in here and we're like, well, is it useful? Is it not? I don't know. Like, let's do it for the lawn and garden show and let's just see. I bet 20, 30 people over the course of the show walked up, put their nose to that fence, smelled it, and goes, oh, that's aromatic cedar. Guys, that panel stays. It 100% stays because we want people in our booth. Like, that's a first step to us doing business. And if we've got something that drags them in like a tracker beam, let's do that. Let's do that thing. So when Tanner's talking about bringing cedar out to the customer, it should have occurred to me to do that. Like, let's take 2 or 3 of these Eastern cedar boards, say, hey, this is what's going in your yard. As you smell it, you'll notice that this is the aromatic cedar. A line I love to use is, regardless of who builds your fence, you really want it made out of this. Knowing that there's only a handful of us that use like Eastern cedar. The rest of them are using whatever they can find at a big box store. In our market, Japonica is big and incense cedar is big. Have you used that stuff much, incense cedar? It's not great in our market, but anyway, so Tanner, absolutely love it. Take hand samples out with you. Now, something happened with our comments here. Mark, do you see this? Like Noah Devine's? I'm just going to have to tell you guys what Noah's comment was because we had to ban somebody and it was right around that time and it got all caught up. So Noah Devine, you guys are going to have to trust me when I say he said, what's up, Joe and Dan, as well as the Fence Fam. Oh, you got it. How can... This is why we have a Mark.
Yeah,
this is why Mark is an invaluable part of our team. Invaluable? That's not the word. Yeah, you can't put value on it. Yeah, that's what that word means. Brad Jones says he's already looking at next year's marketing. I love that so much. Lapita says, just wanted to add, because of you, I found April on her channel. Very good. What an inspiration, especially since I'm a female. Been binging your videos lately. Lapita, I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, she's referring to some of the reaction videos we did with April Wilkerson. You want to talk about somebody with an organization. That April, now her content is definitely done like as a sponsor type thing, but she does really good work. It seems like just watching her videos. There's a few things where I watch them, I'm like, but also in the back of my mind, I got to step back and think like she's doing this from like a DIY perspective. Mm-hmm. Now, there's also other people that make content for DIY that absolutely butcher it. So, So I can appreciate that April is doing it towards the DIY crowd, but doing it in a way that is, holds herself to a nice standard.
Mhm.
Anyway, so Lupita, great. I appreciate it. All right. We're an hour and 5 minutes. This is what I mean when I say we go to like 11-ish Central. We'll be having these great we haven't even talked about where we're going yet.
I know. Yeah, that's right.
This is like what real shows do, where they'll like tease it till the end. Dan, we're getting close. We are getting close to this.
That's
I tell
right.
you what, you can see it from here. All right, we had a few good guesses. Most of them were on the point. I gotta try to scroll up and find the first one. Let's see. There. All right, yeah. So Ken said we'll both be in Nevada. That was very close. But Brad Jones wins the hearty handshake, slap on the back. West Coast Fence Show at the Peppermill. Absolutely right.
100%.
That is where we will be. Dan, tell the good folks when we'll be there.
September 5th, 6th, 7th. We'll be in Reno, man, at the Peppermill. I'm excited for that. It looks super nice, for one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from what I've heard from everyone, they're like, this show is awesome. So,
yep.
And I know there's a couple guys in the comments will be there. George with Sparta Fence, he'll be there. So, like all those West Coast guys, here's their time to shine. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. And guys, we had a lot of people guess the same thing. So, actually, so Brian was here earlier. Brian, sorry. So I saw your message where you skipped out. I'm sorry. Yeah, we weren't able to get to it sooner. We were in the middle of some really good conversation. Brian guessed it. Julie will be at the Fence Cloud. Fence Cloud will be at the West Coast Fence Show. So, Julie, looking forward to seeing you there. We use Fence Cloud. I'm always excited to sit in on Julie's trainings. Really good trainings. It was funny. So I sat in on the first, actually at the Fence Show in Vegas. I sat in on the one last year. We didn't use it. I thought it was going to be like, hey, here's what it does and all that. I walk in, I realize, oh no, Julie's hosting. This is a like how to be better at using, like walking people through it and all that. Like, this is nice that it's not just like a sales pitch. It's actually like, hey, here's how, like, bring your laptops. Here's how we use it. Can we help you through things and all that? Help lead us to getting involved with them.
I think for the most part, man, the Fence CRMs, the Dan Turbeville with Apollo, Julie with Fence Cloud, Matt with the lead, Justin, Judy with our dude, they'll go above and beyond to help you out. You don't have to buy nothing. It's zero pressure. Like for being in the fence industry, I think we're very lucky to have those people in those places running those companies.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, I mean, look at they held the tech summit, right? Yes. Where all of them got together and they were basically like, hey, here's what each of our softwares do. We understand that we approach it differently. And we also understand that each fence company is different. So whichever one of these seems like it would be a good fit for you, we would love to talk to you. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to a lot of these guys. Justin Judy was the most recent one, but a lot of these folks have the same thing where they say, hey, I'll talk to somebody, and if they're not a good fit, now that I know who is a good fit for everyone else, all these other companies, I can say, I would love to help you as best as I can, as much as I can. I think you might be a better fit for this other product. Just viewing how your company works and how their system works, it might integrate more seamlessly. Yep. You want to talk about a rising tide raises all the ships. Mm-hmm. That is that statement in action.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
So good on you guys on the CRMs of the industry, like just helping bring everybody up. Let me see. Slam Barnhill says, this guy loves fences. I don't know which one you're talking about, but the answer is yes.
Yep.
The answer is yes.
So
Al had a good point. Buying a fence is like buying a car. The customers vary, the cars vary. What's good for one neighbor is not good for another, but ultimately they'll take you from point A to point B mostly. Great analogy.
Yep.
Well, I don't even know what car to use as a good economy car anymore. They're all fairly expensive, but like
you're telling me.
let's say Kia maybe, or Hyundai, or I don't know. I'm just using that as an example. Don't come at me, Kia lovers. I'm just saying you've got that, and then you've got whatever GMC, Cadillac. Okay, let's use GMC as the example. You've got Chevy and you've got GMC. If we're talking about trucks, the Silverado is a lot like the Sierra, right? And each one of those also has trim packages. You've got base. They all now have like 4 or 5 different trim levels.
Yeah.
Do you want leather seats? Do you want the seats to be heated and cooled? Do you want an infotainment system? Do you want on and on and on? I think, Al, I think this is a great analogy when we're talking about fences is it is a fence in the way that this is a truck, but just because you say, hey, this dealer over here is going to sell me a truck for 20 grand. Like, well, okay, but what truck are they selling you? Are they selling you the entry level Sierra where I proposed a, Sierra Denali or whatever? Apples and oranges. They're both trucks, but they're very different as well. Speaking of Dan DeMann, here he is, Dan Tuberville. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dan. All right. So Jordan was saying and talking about partnerships with landscapers, they do sub for them with preferred prices to the landscaper. We do our own sales. We do our own sales walkthrough with the customer and then contract with the landscaper. This is the way. It made me nervous in the beginning when you said we sub for. I'm like, oh, that could get dicey. But you already addressed that though, and saying we do the sales walk. So I love it. That is great. Let's see. A lot of people talking to each other in the chat. I love that. Let's see. I think we're good. We've got the link for signing up for the West Coast Fence Show. Still spots available. But like with any of those, you do want to follow the link, leads you to their website, get your hotel rooms. I know we were talking with Luke via email. It sounds like hotel rooms are already starting to get booked up fairly quickly. So if you're wanting to stay on property, you need to get registered. Also, he mentioned, Dan, I believe he had mentioned that there's still room in the golf tournament. So they host a golf tournament right before. I believe he had said that there's still they've still got spots if you'd like to join the golf tournament.
Yep, there's still room for the golf sponsorships. Booth space is almost sold out. August 6th is the cutoff for the room rate.
Okay.
Yep, and there's a code in there you can see right on the website. August 6th is the cutoff.
August 6th is the cutoff.
Like we talked about Boston, man, I'm telling you, they expected like 350. They got 700.
Yeah. Just because the block code lasts till August doesn't mean the room availability will last till August.
These regional events, man, are getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Man, I've been talking about this to everyone. They're like, it is the next best thing. And one of the reasons here, they have 23 hours of fence education at this.
At what cost?
Free.
Bingo.
And some in Spanish.
Some in Spanish. Now, let me preface the free. There is a cost for like the accreditation classes, right? Which pays for the accreditation because it's third-party accreditation. So if you're signing up, there is no additional cost for the education track. All free. Tons of education going on. Going to be a trade show as usual. Now, what's interesting about West Coast Fence Show is it's every 3 years, right? So if you don't make this one, you're going to wait till 27 for the next one to come around. So you got to think every 3 years, this is a very big deal.
Yeah, the networking there alone, it's like just my networking. When I went to Boston and I learned some stuff there, and I brought it back and implemented it. It's awesome. And real quick, what did I want to mention? So if a manufacturer supplier wanted to sponsor that golf tournament or outing, whatever you want to call it, there is still some spots there. So and I say that to say with that networking thing, like get your name out there. These things are going to be hot. Like, trust me, I guarantee you, the return is going to be great for your company. I guarantee you that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because from a branding perspective, it gets you in front of all of these fence professionals that are coming in town to learn more about fence, to learn more about, we talk about this a lot with Fin shows, that it's not just about learning what's available, because you can get that online, but people that are going to this show are intent driven, right? They intend to learn something, they intend to buy something, they intend to stay up to date with what's going on, but they also intend to make new relationships.
Mhm.
Right? That's one of the reasons. Now, one of the reasons we go to the show is to create content, right? But me personally, when I take my fence expert hat off, like the YouTube show hat off, and I put on my Ozark fence hat, I'm there to just start building relationships with people I may not have met before.
Yeah.
A good case in point is King Steel Fasteners. So they make the hog ring pliers, the automatic feed hog ring pliers. I had never heard of them before, but it was at one of the fence shows. I walked by. We were creating a just kind of what's going on at the show video, and I walked by the booth. I was like, "Oh, pause! Let's pause the video. I want to learn what this is, because this thing looks crazy cool." So anyway, talking about bringing it back to sponsors, is that you've got a lot of fence folks there to make these relationships, and sponsoring and getting in front of them is a great way to do that.
Yes. The same real quick. Same way with you. When I was in Nashville, we finally like are buying our paint. We do a ton of chain link, so a ton of your galvanized coating, your black coating, and then I also bought marking paint. I forget their name, and I'm drawing a blank. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because we've got a pallet of Gal sprayed out.
I bought a pallet too. My dad's
Gal
like,
Pro.
we started doing the math. I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, Dad. I'm like, Dad. He's like, buy a pallet. And if my dad, who is so tight he squeaks, says buy a pallet, we buy a pallet. We bought that. And the other thing is our auger teeth we run 3 mini skids and a Bobcat. We spend a lot of money on auger teeth and points. A lot. It's really expensive. I found a guy, it's like half the price there. So just off the top of my head, just from Nashville alone, man, it's big money savings, big money.
Well, and this is the point too, is that you and I could have found these vendors online if we had stopped what we were doing and went and searched for that. But a lot of times you don't know you're looking for it until you see a booth. You're like, oh, auger teeth. We buy a ton of these things. Let me talk to him. Or paint, or hog ring pliers. On the wire side, on Ozark Wire Works, we use a massive amount of hog rings. Every roll gets between 3 and 5, depending on how tall the wire is. So a lot of hog rings go into that. So, but I hadn't thought to search for an automatic hog ring pliers until I saw it sitting on the table.
I'm so used to going to our implement dealer for my auger teeth. Yeah. And anytime you buy something from a John Deere dealer or a Case, you know what that is. So
there's a branding surcharge built into the bottom of it.
But I was just so used to going. You go pick up 5 more points and 20 more teeth. 5 more points, 20 more teeth. I'm just so used to it. We walk past this itty-bitty table. He says teeth out. Well, does it work on these augers? Yep. Here's the price. And then a lot of times they have show pricing specials that you can take advantage of. So
absolutely,
people think that it's not worth it and stuff like that. They are so wrong. So wrong.
Well, and especially, I love that this show's in Reno. So it's a smaller feel. It's still a big town, really big city, but it's a smaller feel. The pepper mill looks like a really nice property. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to see you guys. It's one of the furthest west AFA shows. So let's also mention, so this is a regional show. Right, just in the way like Boston had a regional show. So we've got the AFA national show, and then under it, or just, I don't want to say under it, like everything is valuable, but we have also these regional shows. This West Coast Fence Show is one of those regional shows, happens every 3 years. That it's a different feel. It's a more intimate feel, where FinSec is huge and grandiose, which is a lot of fun to participate in. This is a little bit more intimate show, to where you can have it's different feel. It's like a more, I don't know, intimate feel. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's more for your region. Like when I was in Boston, the Eastern Fence booth was blowing up. Everyone knows Eastern Fence. So your rep is there, your salesman is there, the guy you talk on the phone is there. Where if you go to Nashville, well, you might be talking to someone that has nothing to do with you in your market. But when you go to this West Coast show, I don't know where steel is probably dominant there, maybe Ameristar. That Ameristar rep that sells to you is going to be at that little booth. And then in talking and making connections. That's what's nice. And you're going to see
Absolutely.
local people and people that maybe when you go out of town a couple hours, you see other fence companies. And that's what's nice about networking. Then you can talk to them, pick their brain. They pick your brain. That's what's nice.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. Guys, put it on your calendar. September 5th through the 7th in Reno, Nevada. I'm going to be there. Dan's going to be there. We're going to be producing content. We would really like to see you guys there. And not only Brad will get a hearty handshake and a slap on the back. If you said you saw this podcast or this what do we call these, Mark? Not podcasts.
So I think it's vodcast.
Vodcast. Video pod. Anyone that saw this, you just, or even if you listen to it on the podcast, if you reference this show, you will get a hearty handshake and a pat on the back. Guaranteed. Anytime, anywhere, money back guaranteed. Take it to the bank.
I love it.
Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think we had a great time. Not only did we talk about West Coast Fence Show, which is what we were coming here to announce, is that both of us are going to be broadcasting from the show. We also had a great conversation about finance. We had a great conversation about different materials. We had a lot of good things to talk about here.
Yeah, I like it. I
love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Being so willing to spend some time. I know Saturday mornings can be a little bit tricky with family trying to organize it. I appreciate that. I recognize it, and I want to say thank you.
No, thank you, Joe.
Guys, appreciate you guys joining us on a Saturday. Or if you're watching this as a recorded live, I appreciate you tuning in nonetheless. If you're watching this as a recorded live, or if you're listening and still want to participate, find the video, drop a comment. It still comes to me. If you got a question for Dan, still drop a comment in there. I can snapshot it, send it to Dan, and get your message to him as well. But drop a comment in the comments below, even if you're watching the recorded version of the live conversation we host every Saturday from 10 to 11-ish Central. Guys, for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, here with the one and only Dan Wheeler from the Fence Industry Podcast. Let's do this. I usually give the guests an opportunity to explain their shows, but I rolled through that because I automatically figured everyone knows about it. Why don't you give us a synopsis of the Fence Industry Podcast?
We're a podcast, drop 2 episodes currently a week, Wednesday and Saturday mornings, 4 a.m. Central, they drop. We talk fence, bring on manufacturers, installers, anything and everything. And here real quick, like a week or two, we'll be dropping 3 episodes a week. We're bringing ornamental ag episode on, which I'm excited for because I turn a lot of ag work down because I don't know it. Yeah. And what better way to, build River City Fence with picking brains of the top guys in the ag world, ornamental ag, they like to be called. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's the podcast in a nutshell. I'm with Joe at all these events. We love networking. We love talking. We're nerds.
What days do the podcast drop?
Currently Wednesday, Saturday,
okay.
And I believe it's going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday when we drop 3 a week. So
perfect.
Make it easy.
Perfect. Yeah. I don't ever track when it comes up because it's always at the top. When I get in my car in the morning, I just go, yep, we're going to listen to that one today. You got it. But yeah, very good. So where can they find your podcasts?
All major podcast platforms. Typically it's going to be Apple or Spotify is what we mostly, what I can see the analytics from. So
yeah. Very good. Very good. Check it out. The Fence Industry Podcast. Check it out. I love listening to it. I think you will too. All right. Now we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
For now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, joined by Dan Wheeler, the Fence Industry Podcast, saying goodbye, and we'll see you next week. And remember, good fences make good neighbors. How did I almost forget that?
I know. I was like, oh, God, Joe. I thought you were going to say it. I'm like, don't put the pressure on me, dude.
Oh, yeah. No, that's definitely what I meant to do. I didn't just space there for a second. No, yeah, that's next time we'll get that one right. Good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you guys next week.